Hi! Today I'm going to be making a Mexican cake known as tres leches, which means 3 milks. Now the 3 milks used in this cake are sweetened condensed, evaporated milk, and regular whole milk. It was uploaded to altrecipes.com by someone named Monica. There are a few steps to this and a few ingredients, but if you stick with me and follow my steps, you'll have a delicious Mexican cake. Let's do it! First, preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Next, take a 9-inch springform pan. And springform pans are those ones that have the removable bottom, where you can tighten it together. And butter it just using a stick of butter. Rub it along. And I'm going to butter the sides as well. Now sprinkle a tiny amount of flour into it. And work the flour around, hitting it as you go to make sure it really evenly spreads. Buttered and floured. Now we need 5 egg whites and 5 egg yolks separated. You can do this with 5 eggs. So crack open your eggs, toss the yolk back and forth between the 2 halves of the shell. This will separate the yolks from the whites, and let your whites drip into a small to medium-sized bowl. Then take your yolks and put them into a separate container. I'm putting mine into a stand mixer. Take your 5 egg yolks in your mixer, add a 3/4 cup of white sugar. Then we need to beat these together until double in size. I would say those are light in color and doubled in size. Then you need 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, a 1/3 cup of whole milk, and I've let mine sit out for a few minutes to warm up. Then you need 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. Not soda, powder. And there's ½ teaspoon of baking powder. Now mix all those together. And just stay on a low speed for this part. Maybe once I'll use my icing spatula to really make sure everything gets mixed in equally. Now in our small bowl of egg whites, we need to beat them until soft peaks form. So a lot of times you hear about stiff peaks or firm peaks. We're just going for soft peaks, and I'll show you what those look like when we get there. At this point, I would say I'm close enough. So lift your whisk. You'll kind of see that it's liquidy, it falls back in on itself, but it kind of begins to stick more to the whisk than it ever has before. You know, when you really work it well, it will just stay there and be really stiff. You know, but I'm getting there, so maybe less than a minute, and I'll start adding in sugar. Now what you need to do at this point is gradually add in a 1/4 cup of sugar until firm peaks begin to form. So begin to mix that in. Again, this is a good arm workout. If you have someone that wants to help, you can give them this. You're really going to have to beat it pretty hard. I recommend using an electric mixer. You can switch bowls out, or if you have a hand mixer. I'm not really getting stiff peaks to form on mine at all, although it is definitely thickening up a little bit now that I have all my sugar. But pretty much, you would take some off of your whisk, fold it up, and it would keep these long strands would be running off of your whisk. Those are called peaks, and they would be pretty firm after you mix in all your sugar. At this point, I'm gonna pour my egg white mixture into the egg yolk mixture. And I recommend use an electric mixer for your egg whites, not your yolks, because really you have to beat those a lot more. Your egg yolks you can beat by hand. Now fold this mixture together. So that means use an icing spatula and just gently turn it, do a nice folding motion, like so. Now pour this mixture into your springform pan. Use your icing spatula, make sure you get all your batter out. Now bake this in your oven for 45 to 50 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. Alright, I don't want my cake to darken anymore, so I'm going to pull it out of the oven. Mine's been cooking for about 35 minutes. And then you got to let it cool in the container for 10 minutes. So give it 10 minutes to cool. You can then use a butter knife to make sure the edges are loose. That doesn't look like it's a problem with mine though. Okay, slowly open it up. Cakes for me are always kind of a pain to work with, but a lot of the icing can cover mistakes. And this one doesn't look that bad, to be honest. I'm using a spatula, not an icing spatula, like a flipping spatula, to loosen the cake. There we go. And if you buttered and floured your pan well enough, it should come off pretty easily. So get it onto a separate plate and let it cool completely. They say to pierce the top of the cake with a meat fork or cake tester. I'm just going to use a regular fork. Now you need to mix together a 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. So that's one of the 3 milks in this cake. 12-ounce can of evaporated milk. And 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream. Now mix all of those together. And it says to discard a cup of it, unless you can save it for any other recipe. So it feels pretty wasteful, but that is what it said to do. Now for the remaining amount of mixture, pour it over the cake super slowly until it's absorbed. So this is why you need a good old big plate. It absorbs it surprisingly well, but you can let it sit for a little bit if you'd like too. Now take your remaining heavy whipping cream, and the recipe calls for 1 pint. So this will be 1 pint minus the 1/4 cup we used already. And then beat this until it becomes frosting. Well, similar to frosting. It will have the same consistency. But as you can see now, it's the consistency of icing, or at least it's a spreadable consistency. So take your heavy whipping cream that has been whipped and spread it lightly over your cake. I'm good at baking, and you can be too, but icing is something that I think some people are just more naturals at. But then again, of course, if you practice, you'll get a lot better. And I don't ice cakes very often. Okay, it's looking pretty good to me at least. The recipe also says to use a couple maraschino cherries to decorate your cake. So drain a few. Looks beautiful. Let's try some. I got a piece of my cake here, and I'm gonna try it. Ooh, that is good. The icing, usually with icing, they're so sugary to me. I don't know if some of you have this problem where you just eat some on a cupcake or something and you're like, okay, whoa, I just got diabetes, you know? So what I like about this icing, it's more milky because it's literally just whipped whipping cream, which is great. The actual cake part is sweet, but it's a very kind of warm, would go great with milk cake. It's not too overpowering. It's got a nice, warm, milky, sugary flavor. It's one of the most sweet, moist cakes I've ever had. It's really good. If you like this video, please subscribe. A few basic steps, a few basic tips, and you can have this delicious Tres Leches cake. Thanks for watching.